Hey everyone, Nick Green here. Today's episode, I'll be talking to you about labels. We're going to be talking about, are people really lazy, egotistical, unmotivated? Is that a thing? Well, before we get into this episode, go back and maybe take a listen to last week's episode where I talk about functions of behavior. That's going to tie very closely, so you might get lost if you're unfamiliar with some of the behavioral jargon that I might be going over, but I'll make it simple for you to easy to understand. So now, when we're talking about fitness behaviors, what's happening in the environment, a key thing to think about is it's easy to kind of label each other as oh, that person's unmotivated anymore. You might find that with yourself. You could feel like I was successful, now I'm not. I just can't do it anymore. That's kind of on the not behaving side. But on the other side, you could think that, maybe there's somebody that's so vain that they're always, working out all the time. And geez, how do I get to that point? Well, in this little podcast here, this video, I want to just break it down and just think about let's look at the environmental pieces, those behavioral maybe metrics, those behavioral observations, if you will, that help us really understand what's kind of happening. And really to just kind of to break it down, when we talk about people being lazy, egotistical, and unmotivated, simply put, it's really hard to kind of observe these kind of these traits or these descriptions of what people are doing. So the hard thing is it's just like, even if you were to if you observed somebody, you can never really observe if you crack open their head or look for some type of took a survey or anything, and you see terms like lazy, or you have like those Freudian terms of the id, the ego, and the superego, and maybe they're okay for describing things in the short term, but they're really the kind of the big problem here is that they don't really lead you to what's happening in the environment. They don't give you any new information of how do you actually respond to what's happening when it comes to exercising more, behaving, engaging in more exercise. So, at best, if we use a term we'll use the term lazy here, really it's just kind of describing, a pattern of behavior over time. So we know that, kind of at time A, the person, what's the observation? There's no exercise. As a behavior analyst, we want to pick observable metrics of behavior. You can't really, you're not really behaving. It's more of a lack of behavior. So you could say at point A, there's no exercise. And you say at point B, there's none. At point C, let's move this here. At point C, there is no behavior. At point D, right, there's no behavior. So over time, what's happening is this person, right, if you look at this time period, he's this person is lazy, unmotivated. Maybe, but really, all this really comes down to, if we just pick these 4 points, A, B, C, and D, those are just 4 data points of that is a 0 rate of responding when it comes to exercising, when it comes to going to the gym, whatever it is. It doesn't even have to be related to fitness. It could be lazy related to, doing crafts and activities. It could be lazy related to doing the dishes, right? We just know that every single day, 5 days in a row, this person didn't do the dishes. Now, where do we go from here? So we see the lazy or unmotivation or vanity is kind of just a description, a pattern here of what's happening. It doesn't really tell us more of what's happening maybe in that person's kind of learning history. Like, how did that person respond when they go to the gym? Are they looking in the mirror all the time? Does that make them vain? Do they go to the gym and don't know what to do, so now they're, quote, lazy? Let's break that down. So this is where it ties down to last week's episode when it comes to functions of behavior. So there's kind of 2 challenges when we're looking at using labels to describe, fitness and exercise. So if we look at challenge number 1 here, the challenge number 1 is that we always need to get some type of behavior going. So it's difficult, if somebody is, say they have no history of exercising and moving and doing things for health benefits. So the challenge is, number 1 is to get behavior happening. Okay, again, this is going to be a video version, so we're just writing these notes here so you can check it out on the YouTube video. Challenge number 1, get behavior happening. What do we have to do as a behavior analyst? We have to reinforce some type of behavior, right? So we need to reinforce the fitness behavior. So now, this is where it ties to last week. We see that there were 4 functions to fitness behavior. So we had attention, you need other people. We had automatic, you don't need other people. Escape, you want to get away from something. And the 4th one is tangible. And I'll do a quick summary here as we go through this. So if we want to reinforce some type of fitness behavior, attention piece, we want to provide some type of consequence to exercise. So if somebody's starting new, right, we can't say that they're unmotivated or lazy. Let's just go ahead and say they go to the gym, they meet some people. Hey, thank you for showing up. That attention piece, we're going to have to reinforce, get that behavior happening. The attention is say, hey, nice work, nice attendance, something like that. Again, writing these kind of examples here. Again, the example from last week, you get a head nod. So now this is reinforcing the behavior. Now are we going to say that this person is no longer, are they super motivated all of a sudden? Possibly, but if we're taking a behavioral interpretation, we think about, when I go to the gym frequently, I contact friends, coaches, peers, meet new friends. Those consequences are reinforcing that fitness behavior. So really, these terms, when we talk about labels here, they're not doing anything to help describe what's actually happening with that individual athlete, friend, family member. So again, we got to reinforce the behavior. And again, this is going to be related to what's important to the individual athlete. So, I'm kind of an introvert sometimes when it comes to the gym, so I don't necessarily like that. So if you think about getting behavior happening, had I maybe first experienced a lot of social attention when I first went to the gym, that might have not reinforced my behavior of going there. So as we work through these examples, just keep in mind that these reinforcers that I describe are individually specific. What works for me might not work for you, and vice versa. So again, just quickly going through these examples, reinforcing the fitness behavior, getting that behavior happening, some type of automatic piece. This is that runner's high. Escape, let's say you're escaping, some type of, for lack of a better term, stressful work situation. So if it feels better, loosely speaking, to, to go work out at the gym and get away from work or family or whatever it is, some type of activity. You could be escaping. You don't want to do the workout. You could be working with a coach, and you could inadvertently. Let me start over. By asking for timeouts, by asking to leave, by going to the gym to escape, you could be reinforcing that kind of escape or avoidance behavior. So, getting out of bad situations here, and then again, the tangible piece is, we get the trophies again. So this could get behavior happening, could maintain behavior, right? The trophies, the awards, the swag bags, the stuff we all get, those types of things. So that's the first challenge. Now the second piece, when it comes to labels and, getting unmotivated, vanity, take somebody again with vanity here. It's like, this person's so vain. Well, maybe that's more of a function of, we call them vain because they're looking in the mirror all the time and they don't need other people to work out, and they're posting pictures and commenting on their own physique, right? That doesn't necessarily mean vanity. There's some magical vain gene or vain trait. Like, no, we just look at what are those environmental events that set up these patterns of behavior, right? So challenge 1, challenge 2 now, as it comes to identifying or not identifying people. So we set up the behavior, get the behavior happening. So what do we do now when that behavior no longer produces that reinforcer in that first challenge? The behavior goes under extinction, just like the dinosaurs. No longer around. Extinction. Am I spelling that right? Extinction. Yep. Behavior goes under extinction. So now, getting back to the attention, we'll go to auto. Again, I'm just making the list here. Escape. and tangible. Attention, we go to the gym. What was happening? Let's say we go to the gym. We love having our peer group around. Now, all of a sudden, let's say, hypothetically, all of our peers move away, or our best friend, our gym buddy is no longer there. What no longer happens? So there are no more social reinforcers, social consequences delivered when we're engaging in that behavior. Again, say it was gym attendance. We are unmotivated, so to speak. Now we have coaches and friends at the gym. That's reinforcing the behavior. Now we're a good gym rat. Now, if those consequences that are meaningful no longer produce when we go to the gym, then that behavior will undergo extinction. So me going to the gym now, it's not as fun. And we all hit those lulls. There'll be times where I just joined a gym since moving to Indiana, and it took a while to meet new people, to have conversations, to get to really kind of recruit my own social reinforcement, if you will. And then if there's days where, I work out 6 a.m, there could be a big group of 6 to 10 guys and gals in there. It's a good competition, right? Those are good reinforcers. But some days it's just not as fun if there's fewer people. You don't have your workout partner there. All these things. So what happens is that behavior could be undergoing extinction, not producing the same reinforcers. And so that's the biggest challenge is that what do we do now when that behavior no longer produces that same reinforcer? That's the attention piece. If we're looking at the automatic piece, this is really kind of that you kind of hitting the wall, you're hitting the plateau. This gets into, if you get into more of the gym life here, quote, the noob gains. So the noob gains are whenever you're starting a fitness program, right? Your body's adapting, it's difficult. You're going to get a lot of gains right away in your first 6 to 8 weeks, depending on your programming, right? There's specifics in there. That's a podcast for another day. But generally speaking, you're going to hit a wall. You're not going to gain as much maybe muscle right away. You're not going to lose as much weight right away. You're going to kind of hit that plateau, and that's where the whole program variability and training in different modalities. That's where all that comes in. So here again, that behavior of attending the gym, reaching those gains, they're no longer produced, and so you're kind of hitting a wall. So in one aspect, you could say that, my gym behavior is now going under extinction, or those automatic reinforcers. That's where right here, the automatic piece, is it's not producing the same gains. So you're going to hit the wall. So we have to do something different, right? So we have to find a new source of reinforcement. That's the difficult part here. Function 3 here with escape. If you're working with a coach and you say, I don't want to do this anymore, I want to stop. Say before the coach honored it, maybe when you're first starting off, okay, yeah, let's take a break. The coach is smart, want to work with you, shape up behavior. But now let's say you're 4 or 5 weeks in, closer to some competition, it's like, no. So you saying I want to break and leave now, that no longer produces the reinforcement. So now what happens? You're going to change your behavior. So it's not so much that the individual athlete was before, let's say, non-compliant with the program when you first started. Now you're compliant. You say like, now it's just a change in the environment where the coach is not honoring that escape from the training program. The coach is now honoring escape from the training program. It just depends on what that interplay is with you and the coach. So again, that escape. So no more breaks given, right? For that next piece, no more breaks given. So again, it's not that label. If we were to call an athlete, what's the term here? Coachability, right? Oh, this person's so coachable. This person is not coachability. Really, it's that willingness to kind of take feedback and follow rules from peers, coaches, friends, etc. And then the second challenge here, as it relates to the last function, the tangible function. Let's say you are, in a training competition, and your PRs, say you're no longer getting better. Your PRs no longer produce the same place, the same trophy, the same, prize money. What was good before, in your first year of training, everybody else got better and you didn't. So that's another challenge, right? We have to look at what happens whenever we, as athletes, as amateurs out there, when we're performing there could be some elite athletes listening, so that same PR no longer produces the same placement. That, of course, is coupled with attention-based functions and things like that. So now, tying it all together, I started this episode off with, okay, it's about labels. People aren't lazy, unmotivated, egotistical, vain, things like that. It's really, we have to look at what are the patterns of the behavior that's been reinforced here. Make it to a red on the iPad. So we look at the first challenge. Okay, looking at labels, it isn't so much the person's lazy. We just had to get the behavior happening in the first place. We had to find those. We had to find the reinforcers, right? So as it comes back to the labels here, labels, the challenge number one, we had to find the reinforcers. And that is difficult. It's all different. It's all individualized. Find the reinforcers. And labels with challenge 2. When we get those reinforcers, now that the unmotivated person, we find the reinforcers. Now they're all of a sudden magically motivated. No, it's not magic. It isn't willpower. All of a sudden I just ran into motivation down the street. Like, no, we contacted something that changed our behavior. And now the second piece on the back end, we have to be flexible and understanding, and be patient with ourselves. To understand that what were the reinforcers to begin with may no longer be effective, and it's always a constant change, an influx, a coming and going of different reinforcers, managing all of that, and seeing what's happening. I just made it sound complicated, but it's not. It's just understanding it's a continual process of things are, helping us increase behavior. Things are working against us, decreasing behavior. Sometimes behavior no longer produces those same increases, right? So we have to always kind of navigate that space. So looking at the labels here, it's not so much that somebody's so vain, right? It's they are producing many reinforcers. And it's not so much that people are unmotivated or just don't have it anymore. It's, well, look at their pattern of behavior, and maybe those behaviors are no longer producing those same reinforcers, and also those reinforcers, those things could change. I used to do it for the money, but now I don't anymore. I used to do it for friends and family, for placement in competitions. Now I don't anymore. It could be vice versa. Or I used to do it for the money, but now I really enjoy it for the health aspects or whatever it is. So it's always just being mindful of like how those reinforcers change, how things are produced, and how they're not. And that really, I think, kind of really encapsulates the point of not having labels when it comes to, applying these principles of behavior analysis to fitness in the workplace. So, again, we'll just kind of wrap up here. So it's thinking about labels. It's more about, let's look at the patterns of behavior as they relate to the environment and what the environment produces. And when we look at that environmental change, we need to be specific about, okay, what are those pieces that are producing the behavior that we want? Okay, that's it for BehaviorFit. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Keep moving. Comment below. Stay tuned for the next one.